What's up, everybody? Welcome to Talking with the Bosses. I'm Keedren.
And I'm Katura, and we're so grateful for you showing up tonight and joining us to have this conversation. We've been talking this week and a little bit today. And we're excited to have this conversation with y'all. Y'all were amazing last week. That was a great conversation, and y'all kind of kept it going. So we pray that you find just as much fruit and wisdom in this conversation and in the comments as you join us tonight.
Yeah, that's good. So today's topic, as you can see, we're talking about gratefulness, the question is, grateful for what? For what? Mm-hmm. What we need to be grateful for.
Listen, we said it sounds cliche to say that this is the topic, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Because we both had some gratitude moments lately that have kind of recentered us and brought us back to where we need to be. And we're like, it's not so cliche when you really think about the situations and the circumstances that we find ourselves mulling over and contemplating on decisions. When you get to a place of gratitude, something just shifts. And so we have experienced that.
Yeah, that's real. I wanted to say too, because, and I think you put this in the
did I?
In the in the caption, like gratefulness and being thankful and all those things like that in this season.
Yeah.
And I think we were definitely on the same wavelength, because even in the caption, I wrote the same thing. Like, it could be cliche, or it can get old, or just kind of ran in the ground, because whenever Thanksgiving comes up, now it's time to think about what all we've been thankful for.
Yes, let's go around the table.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
For sure. Not like it's a bad thing, but it just becomes like, here we go again. Especially like thinking about our kids and thinking about students, because even today, like in service, it's Sunday. Right now, of course. For those of you who are watching at a later time. And so we had service on today, and I was talking to our students.
What they say
about just not. I told them, I said, don't let this season be cliche for you. The fact that you got family coming into town, y'all are leaving and going out of town to spend time with family, and you're gonna hit the question asked, like, what are you grateful for? All those things like that. Because here's the thing: after Thursday. Like, up until Thursday, everybody's thinking about how grateful they are. And then when midnight hit and it's Black Friday, then everybody's thinking about what they want, what they don't have, what they need. Cyber Monday's coming, the Christmas list. I've already been out to, now, I know even our kids, sent us.
I tell you, that Joker sends us a PowerPoint presentation every year.
Listen.
Birthday and Christmas, and her birthday is in January.
Right.
So yes, you are 100% correct. Yeah. And so you welcome, parents, that Pastor Boston got in front of it with them teenagers, because it's something to think about.
For sure. Just reminding them, like, this should be a year-round thing. Like, it shouldn't just be something that's seasonal. That when we get to this point in the year where we start thinking, okay, what are we grateful for? What are we thankful for? So just not let that, don't let that gratefulness mindset, fade away. So I want to talk about what gratefulness is. So I kind of put like a little working definition that we can kind of look at for now before we go forward. So,
like a good working definition.
Yeah, if you just look at it like this for now, gratitude, the practice of acknowledging and appreciating the good things in life.
Fair.
Right. We don't have to be spot on, but acknowledging what is good. I'm great. What do I have right now in life?
And taking it to the next level, because some of the things that we might see, it's not that we're without gratitude, but sometimes we forget what we're grateful for while we're thinking about the next thing that we want. And see, those are natural things. Like when you're in a house this time of year, I always think if we were in a bigger house that had this extra space or this amount of square feet, we could do this or that, or have these extra activities, or have X amount of people over. And I forget that this is a good problem to have. We are homeowners, right? And I'm like, I have to pause and really ask myself, what is the real problem? Like, what is the real problem? Because this is a good problem to have. If we didn't have the space at all, and when we didn't have the space at all, when we were in was it a 3-bedroom? We were in a 3-bedroom apartment. And this was probably back What year was Zoe born again? 2011. Yeah. I remember 2010 and 2011, the year she was born and the year before she was born. We had 16 people.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? We tell this story sometimes. We had 16 people, kids and adults.
Yeah.
In that 3-bedroom, 900 and something square foot.
If that.
I think it was like, I literally think it was like 912 square feet. And we had people over.
Right.
I think even our dining room. So our dining chairs had enough for 4 chairs, but one of them was we had to push it so close against the wall that only 3 chairs were usually accessible at one time. So it's not like we had a ton of space.
Right.
But what we did was we fixed plates. We fed people. We said, if you don't have anywhere to go, come on over. Come to our house. You are welcome.
Yeah.
Bring your family. Bring a friend that doesn't have a place to have dinner. Bring your kids. Don't bring your dog, but bring your kids. And we fed everybody. And people got on the floor. We took couch pillows off the couch, threw them around the living room, sat with plates in our hands, put on movies that we did not watch because we were talking and fellowshipping over them.
Yeah.
And it was a blessing. It was an absolute blessing. Excuse it for a minute. We're going to keep going because we live. Look, and it was an absolute blessing. And so when we think back on those times in that season, it's like, if we did that then, and we were so grateful and we just wanted to give and we just wanted to pour, surely in this season, I guess suspend that thought of thinking about what we don't have, how much space we don't have to do something. And it was a short-lived idea, but how many things like that grow during this time of year when we're seeing more commercials and we're seeing more ads and we start spring cleaning and we're like, oh, we're going to clean up so we can get more. And all of those things are all okay. But like I said initially, the point is that we don't want to forget what we're grateful for. And so in our Talking with the Bostons Facebook group, Keedren asked the question, what are you grateful for? And I was the first one to answer because, that's how I do. I jumped in there and I was like, I'm grateful for my good problems. Sometimes when I think about like being tired after finishing a really amazing project, right, at the church or for the kids or for families or a way that we're going to serve, I'm super exhausted from that. But I'm also grateful that I get to do what I do. I know that something great is coming on the other end of that. So just even being grateful that not only am I exhausted, but I can rest from that. Sometimes it's just remembering. And so one thing that has been on my mind a lot, Keedren had this story where he was driving himself to go see our chiropractor. I didn't go this day. He went. And he just got this overwhelming feeling of grief and just became super sad, was super upset, and it just impacted him emotionally. And before he knew it, he said he just started praying and just saying, Lord, I thank you. Lord, I thank you. I'm so grateful, and I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. And so he gets to the chiropractor's office, and our Dr. Wilson, shout out to him. He asked Keedren, like he would normally do, like, how's it going? How you been? And Keedren told him the truth. And he said, I was a little sad on the way up here. Like, God is faithful, but I was a little upset. And Dr. Wilson just said, come here, bring it in, give me a hug. And just hugged him, right? He was there to get folded up, but he gave him a really great man-to-man, man of God kind of hug and just said, come here, bring it in. And Keedren was even grateful for that, grateful to even have a chiropractor that would, one, ask you the question, how are you doing? And not just lay on the table, get sideways so I can fold you in half, but to actually ask you how you're doing and then see about you and then attend to you when you do come into a vulnerable space and you're like, I really have been struggling just a little bit emotionally. My back feels okay. I'm going to get this adjustment, but this is where I am in this moment. And so lately, I've been thinking about his testimony, the fact that he shared it with me. He didn't have to come back home. Welcome back, Scooty.
Oh, yeah.
Look at you. So handsome. Just thinking about his story and his testimony that he did not have to share with me, but he did. And I just watched him, like, there was just like this wave of just vulnerability that you encountered, during this time. And I'm just like, thank you for sharing that because it's been blessing me.
Yeah.
So y'all, and sorry for the technical difficulties. Look, we're live. So this is what happened. So thank you for rocking with us. Right. We told you we were keeping it real, but we didn't know it was gonna get this real tonight.
It's real, so we do recognize that it's a card full on there.
Our card is full. We can't
even using the card.
And we're not even using it, but whatever. It's talking trash to it. You know what? We still grateful.
We still grateful.
We still grateful.
I try to work it out. We'll figure it out next time.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, gratefulness did pull me out of a quick pit, on that day. And, gratefulness will do that for us, when you tap into gratefulness and then worship,
that's a good
worship works, I know used to hear, when the praises go up, the blessings come down. I've recently heard it put, when the praises go up, the power comes down. You know what I mean?
Agree.
And so, thinking about worshiping God in times where I have felt like I'm really dealing with some things. I'm a worshiper at heart anyway.
You are. My favorite one too.
God bless you. But there are times where I tap in, like real talk, and like, God, I just need you right now. And I just turn on, whether it's music or just whatever comes to mind. If I'm singing unto God and I'm just worshiping him in song, and in prayer, in those ways, it definitely has helped me in my life. But I want to share this aspect of gratefulness and gratitude that really hit me in a different way when I lost my brother. When my brother passed away, my brother Edwin, he passed away December 28th, 2021. He was shot and killed in Colorado Springs, and it was tough, man. It hit me like 2 tons of bricks, of course, the worst news of my life.
Yeah.
And being a man of faith and knowing that God is real, believing that God is real, trusting that God knew this was going to happen before we did, even though I would have rather not, went through this or be going through this, or have my mother and my sister and my family, my children, my wife, who all knew and loved my brother, go through these things. I still needed to tap in a different kind of way, because I knew at that time it was, I needed something different from God, And so even in prayer and asking God to help me, this insight that I believe God gave me of gratitude was the fact that, when you think of gratefulness, it doesn't mean that you don't want more, right? And I've used this example in the past too. If I say, do you want some pizza? And I have a box of pizza, it is 8 of us, and there's 8 slices of pizza, and we all can only get one. Gratefulness is saying, grateful is not saying that I can't eat more than one piece of pizza. You know what I'm saying? I only want one. I'm only good with one, right? Because I might want 2, I might want 3. But gratefulness is taking that one slice that you get and being thankful for that, and being okay with what you get. It's not saying that you don't want more, or you couldn't have more, or you couldn't handle more.
Right.
But gratefulness is saying, I'm going to appreciate what I do have and let that add value to me. Right. And so, thinking about loved ones, even in this season that, you may have lost, I think about my brother and people that I've lost that are close to me. Of course I would want more time with them. You know what I mean? I wanted to grow old with my brother and to spend time with him in more ways than we have, like on some grown man type stuff, on some grown man, on some old man type stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love to have more time with my brother. But I'm grateful for the time that I did have with him. And I think of those memories, and I let those memories add value to my life, the laughter, the love, the gifts. Yeah. I still have things around the house that he's given me. I think about, the experiences that him and I had, and I let those add value to me. And I think that's what gratefulness is, because even if we have family members that are 80 and 90 and 100 years old that pass away, it's like, man, 101 would have been good. 102, I just need a little bit more, another day, you know. And of course, we settle on that you lived a good life, which is good, right? We can be grateful for those things, but we will always want more time with our loved ones, right. You know. And so gratefulness is not saying that I don't want any more time or I'm good with what I had. It's just like, no, I wanted more, but I'm thankful for what I did have, and I'm okay with that, and I'll let that add value to me. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense, and it makes me think about even being grateful for people in our lives.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes we can take for granted, and sometimes if we've come from a place where we're not used to even having healthy and good relationships, sometimes you'll mistreat and you'll mismanage the ones that you have.
Wow,
you'll forget about the people who were there. I got a text yesterday from someone who used to live in the city, and when they came, them and their 2 kids were like, they were new to the area, and they started coming to our church, and we just kind of befriended them, took them in, cared for their kids, and just really wanted them to feel connected.
Yeah.
On a, you know, connected to the church and just connected to other people, you know, because you know, sometimes you do church when there's church service, but we wanted them to feel like they had people that they could also do life with, that they could call if they needed to, just have somebody that they could reach out to without not having other friends and family. And she just thanked me and said, your family means so much to me. Thank you for being there for us in a season when we had literally nobody else, you know, and y'all just still mean a whole lot to us. And that meant something to me because it reminded me of a story that we were teaching today and with our Northside kids in children's ministry about the 10 leopards and the one man who returned to say thank you. And so we've been who we are in people's lives for as long as I can remember. But when one person pauses to say thank you, it's almost like it represents, all of the ones who never did, because it reminds you that was impactful. Keep being that, keep doing that, keep cherishing and nurturing relationships, even relationships that you don't feel like can add to you. And this was not a relationship that we didn't feel like could add to us. We never look at relationships that way. Right. We always look at relationships as like the intention is that they would be mutually beneficial. You love me, I love you. You got my back, I got your back. If I got it, you got it. Reciprocated kind of responses to relationshiping. And so it was a great reminder. But, sometimes in this season, when there is this, I guess, seasonal structure of family coming together and friends coming together, you hear people talking about like not being excited about getting together with friends or family, or for whatever reason, because there may be some internal turmoil that has not been resolved. And people are having a hard time, overcoming it or moving around it. And sometimes it's possible and sometimes it's not. I understand. I'm not talking about, where it's just not possible. But even in this season, just a reminder where we're thinking about how short life is, value the relationships that you have, so that if you ever have to look back on them, and it doesn't mean you lose them from this world physically, but I mean, even someone moving away, that relationship can remain intact. It's not even about proximity. It really is about the purpose and the destiny of that relationship. And so what you said just now just kind of reminded me to just take care of those relationships and do what we can. And we are some people too. We've been played in relationships. We've been grateful for relationships and thought it was mutual. And then, people, depending on where they are or their level of maturity, people change and things shift. But the beauty of it, I think, is that we've not let that stop us from showing real and genuine love, for people and being kind. So I'm grateful for the relationships that we have. I'm grateful that we can still bounce back from those kind of moments. But I just wanted to encourage somebody who may be dreading the seasons. We have between the two of us lost 3 family members in the last 2 weeks. There have been several funerals at several churches that we are affiliated with and know, and people are experiencing loss. There was a man crossing the street maybe 4 weeks ago, killed on a busy cross street. And so just imagining what this season is like for many people, not just those who have recent losses, but those who have lost people before now in this season, just kind of is a reminder of who's not sitting around the table and couldn't be, even if you wanted them to. So appreciating and being grateful for your relationships, I think it also should draw us to some kind of reconciliation when possible, or at least to drop grudges, right? To just move in a way that says, going into this new year, into this new season, I want to do something different because I am grateful. I have life, I have breath, and I don't want to spend it, not grateful or, just, hurt, bitter, all of that stuff.
Yeah, discontent, all kinds of things.
Yeah, depressed, all of that.
Yeah. That's real. And I'm just thinking about even this title, grateful for what? Like even saying it in that way, like for what? What do I have to be grateful for? Yes. Especially if,
come on, talk to the person who's asking that for real.
If I've had loss, whether it's, physical loss where people are not in my life anymore. Maybe I lost a job in this season. Maybe, relationships, maybe people are walking out of my life.
Yeah.
And so it's just like grateful for what is there for me to be grateful for, and you're searching for that.
Somebody's asking that question or has.
Yeah. And I think even in this moment, it's sometimes you got to dig, you know what I mean? Sometimes you really do have to, if you're wanting something different, if you're wanting to really come out of the rut that you may feel like you're in, in this season, you see everybody else smiling. It seems like everybody else is doing well and better than you. And so it's like, what do I have to be grateful for? I know, we can get as simple as, waking up, in the morning or breathing, breath in my lungs. Even for that, it's just like, okay, yeah. But it's true. Like sometimes we have to dig even in that way too. Yes, like, man, I'm breathing right now.
Yes.
That is a big deal, but I think digging in such a way to say, okay, what do I have that's going good for me? Because I think as long as we have breath, we'll have two options: to do something or not. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, I feel like you can either do something about your situation or not, no matter what situation you're in.
Right. Keep it real.
And here's another thing: we can't control a lot of the things around. There's so many things in our life that we can't control. Some of our circumstances, the way things play out, we can't control those things. But what we can control is how we respond to them. Absolutely. We can always choose joy. We can always choose to look at the bright side of things, still understanding reality, but saying, okay, you know what? I might be at the bottom. I might be looking up at down. That's how low I am right now.
Right.
But I'm going to find a way to climb up. I'm going to find a way to get out of this place that I'm in right now.
I'm not going to die in this pit.
I'm not going to. Exactly. And so searching for those things that are good, searching for the things that you can be grateful for, even if it's just one thing. I think that's important because gratefulness does bring contentment. When you're grateful for what you have, then contentment comes, right? It's when we are not grateful for things, when we're envious, of what we don't have, or envious of others because they may have the family that we want, or the job, or the status or notoriety, whatever it is. When we're focusing on other people's things, then we're going to harbor, bitterness and envy and jealousy,
right?
And ignore everything that we have. And that's just not, it's not good. I'll just be real. It's not good to be like that, because I think we all have something to offer.
I think it's it's kind of like a silent killer.
Yeah.
I think because it happens internally, right? Those feelings, they don't always manifest themselves like externally, like being jealous or envious.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of thing where you think it in your mind, or when you see them, or you see them living life in a certain way, you might be envious. And the truth is, you don't know what it costs. We don't know what it costs people to be them. You can see somebody on a platform And you're like, man, they living a dream. And you don't know that they had to fly themselves there, pay their own way. They not getting paid, but they're up there. Right. I've heard stories like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Or you're envious. You're looking at somebody's car like, man, I'm ready for a new one. And you don't realize that, what it takes for them. You don't know that they have a night job that you don't know nothing about, because that note is $700 and the insurance on it is $200. And that's a little bit above their means, but they want it. And so they're willing to do that. So you could be looking at something and you think you want it. And that's the thing about the eyes, the lust of the eyes. It's deceptive.
Yeah.
You can think, your eyes can make you think that you want something and convince you that you want something so much that because you don't have it, now you deserve to feel unhappy. And so you let yourself sit with it.
Yeah.
And that could be anything. I just gave a material example because all the different ways that this could, show itself. But just consider that for a moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we think we understand about a thing is really not that. And the truth is, God does not withhold good things from us. There are some things and some seasons in our lives where he knows exactly how much he can handle. If I had a job that was going to take me from my family, I don't care how much it was going to pay me. I don't want it.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
This was what I told God.
Right. Yeah.
So the days where, I could be thinking or going a different way, sometimes I just have to remind myself. And like you said, you have to dig to be grateful for sometimes. That's why you think Paul was so graphic when he said, I have to die daily. I have to die daily to my flesh. First of all, death, that is harsh.
Yeah. That
is an extreme metaphor for what he meant when it said, if I'm going to live right, if I'm going to walk right, there are some things I have to die to. I have to take off some of my flesh, meaning my ears, my mind, my thoughts, my mouth, my words, my hands, what I do, where I go, what I see, all of that. I have to bring my flesh under submission so that I can remind myself of what is true.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. I love that. Thank you for sharing that perspective.
Yeah. You're welcome, Cootie.
Another thing I want to share too is, if we've lost something, or like, let's say sometimes it seems like in our life, maybe we have lost some steps. So maybe I started a business and it failed, or I got something and it was taken from me. I'm reminded of those games. I used to love, I still play games now, but like going to arcades, when you put the coins in and, you press start, and there comes a point where if you lose at the game, if you lose at that particular one, at the end, it says game over. But then right after game over comes, it says play again. You know what I'm saying? And so it says play again, right? You do have a timer, so, but the fact about it, it says play again. And so you can try again in life. So there's some things that you have done that maybe didn't work out well this time. You can still be grateful for the fact that you can try again, whether it's the same thing, but you do it a different way, because now you've learned something. You didn't just lose, you learned.
That's good. Come on. You didn't just lose, you learned.
Right. So you can do it again, or, hey, maybe I do have to try something else.
Right.
But at least
I love that.
Having a grateful heart to say, you know what, at least I have it in me, to do it again, or I have another opportunity to try again.
Right.
And I'm grateful to God for that, because one of the in our talking with the Boston's group, there was a family that shared how they were trying to have children throughout the years. This is something they shared with our group publicly.
Yeah.
And I think they have twins now. We have to find it, but trying again, right? Because there are some things that can happen in our lives that we're just like, man, this did not go. It's not going the way we have planned it or dreamed for it to happen.
True.
And so being grateful that we do have an opportunity to try again, no matter what it looks like in our life, and then also having the mindset too, if you can understand that maybe I need to try something else,
right?
After prayer and consideration and counsel and all those things like that, being grateful for those things as well. So, I think it's key, and this should be a year-round thing where we tap in and see where we're at in our life and the things that we're grateful for, so we can be content. We don't have to necessarily say, this is where I want to be for the rest of my life, because I know, with some of us who have drive and ambitions, to do things, maybe to do even greater things. We're not going to give up. We're not going to stop, but we may fail. We may hit a brick wall. We may hit an obstacle, but still being grateful for the strength and the strategy, to do something different. So yeah, I'll say that.
I agree.
Gratefulness also leads to joy too.
No, it
gratefulness,
it does.
It will lead to joy. Because I remember that day, I know you kind of shared a little bit of the story, but I remember I was just overwhelmed. I don't even know. I mean, of course, with the loss of my brother and just what was just happening in my life. Not that things were bad. It was just, it just came to a point where I guess subconsciously, it was crazy that I just began to leak or just grieve, man. It was just crazy. And I began to pray and ask God, like, God, help me. Like, I don't know what to do right now, and I just heard him say, I just felt like I heard the Lord say, be grateful. And I started thinking, I dug all the way to the fact that I was in a car being able to get from point A back to point A. Because I know I just need a car from point A to B. No, I want to get back to A. Okay.
Yeah, because A is the house.
Yeah. So, but I just began to think about the things that I was grateful for. It's simple, and of course it's not simple for some people, but for me to have a car, to be able to get from point A back to point A, or I'm headed to the chiropractor. So thank God for insurance, and a job, so I can afford to be able to do that, and so it was just things that I was pulling, from, digging in order so that I could be grateful. And then that's when the joy began to come. Because I started thinking like, man, I'm doing better than I think I am. I'm doing better than even what I'm feeling like right now. And then on top of that, when my doctor came through, because I had already dried it all up, y'all. I ain't gonna even front. I was crying. You know what I'm saying? But by the time I got there, I got myself together. And then when he asked me how I was doing, I'm in a place in my life now, y'all, like over the last 2 years when I lost my brother, and that by the grace of God, I was able to go through K's Way. It's a grief and loss. It's not even a program. Yeah, it's a group, grief and loss support group that my church, the Potter's House North, provides. And it's for anyone. You don't even have to be a member of the church. We have people all across the nation that are part of this group virtually. And so, but it was some things that through that support group that taught me how to process my grief. And that blessed me as well, and so, but one of the things before I even started that group, it really, I was determined to be honest with myself and my family and people that was close to me when they asked me how I was doing. I'm not going to lie about not feeling good if I'm not, and I'm not going to mope in the sadness or grief if I am feeling good that particular day or that season. So if I'm not feeling good and I'm just not feeling it, I'm like, I'm not doing too good today. I have my safe people that I can share that with, where I can be vulnerable with, but it's been important for me to be honest with how I feel. And I would encourage you to do the same thing, with those safe people, to be honest. It's okay to not be okay. Wearing a mask stinks. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, if you wore a mask and you got all that, we call it huss in our family, because you're like,
smells like.
And so, but it stinks. It stinks.
Yes.
Wearing a mask wearing a mask begins to stink after a while, because you're going through so many things. You're crying and you're dealing with things, but you got that mask on to show everybody that everything is okay. You can't get help that way, and it's okay to not be okay. It's important to be honest with yourself. Because when you're honest with yourself, then you can truly get help. You know what I mean? So, I'm grateful for even the wisdom and the insight. And I thank God for just that, that help, for me. Support, so yeah, that's that support. So I'm grateful for that. Let's check out one of these comments from Mitch Jensen. Our timing doesn't always align with what God's timing looks like. Keep trusting God. Grateful in the waiting times. Absolutely. Man, Mitch, that's so good, brother. If you're still with us, man, thank you for sharing that. That's so good. And I can definitely, testify to that, because I remember one time in my life, I was really like thinking like, I know things aren't going to always be this way, especially when we were in college. Yeah. Like, I know we're not going to always be on public housing. You know what I mean? We were teenage parents, for those of you who don't know us in that way yet, but we were teenage parents. By the time we were 19 years old, we had two children, Symphony, we had Aaron and Symphony. And we were going through college, doing the best we can to finish school. Yeah. Because we knew and we really felt like getting a college degree was going to be best for us and our family. Yeah. And so while we were going to school and in the struggle, I remember at one point thinking like, okay, I know I'm not going to be here in this place. I know we're not going to be in this place forever, because we're working hard and we're making progress. Sure. And this may have been a little bit right after we got married. And I was really thinking like, you know what? I do want to be able to look back and say that I trusted God in this way. So it was like me low-key challenging myself to say, you know what, God, I'm gonna trust you in this process. I'm gonna trust that, you got us, and I'm gonna believe this. And what's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? Because there was really nothing for me to lose and everything to gain at that point, And so it is important for us to just kind of keep trusting God and his timing and waiting on things to get better. But what we're working while we wait. That makes sense.
Yeah, serving while you wait, and having gratitude for where you are, because you've been sharing this with our kids, and especially our oldest son, Aaron. Aaron's 24 years old, great kid. But my husband, I heard him on the phone telling him, he said, son, while you're waiting on your next, be grateful and stay consistent in your now. Honor the now that God gave you, because your now is also an answered prayer. Is every element of it your prayer? Maybe, maybe not. But sometimes the way we ask for a prayer and the way a prayer is delivered look like two different things. For example, say you're believing God for a house, right? You want a house. Well, if you're going to get the house, then you're going to start looking for a house. You're going to look for the house that you want. That house that you desire comes with the sticker price. Now, maybe you can afford it, but that could mean additional hours. It could mean you sacrifice in other ways that you haven't had to. Right. Maybe the cost of living in this house and what it takes to just run a house, because it's not just the mortgage, right? It would be other things like your utilities and cables and your subscriptions and your phone and your car and insurance and medical and all of those kinds of things too. So all of those things have to be adjusted. That could also come with longer hours or multiple jobs, or having to move someplace else that will provide you the house that you want and put you in the area or give you the salary that you need to be able to sustain that. And so sometimes you can think, I just asked for a house. Well, God said yes, but it also came with some other things that need to happen as well. So a lot of times when we pray, I don't think that we always take into consideration how many things God is setting in motion for one prayer concerning you. One, because he's intentional. Yeah. And he's not just going to throw things at you that you can't manage. So he starts working a strategy. Now, anytime there's a strategy, that means we have to do something. When you have to do something, usually you have to do something that you're not already doing. So it's going to cause some shifts. And when those shifts happen, it can feel like turmoil because it's out of the normal, it's outside of the normal, but it really is taking you on a trajectory to point you toward the thing that you ask God for, to the thing that he's saying yes to you to. And so that's why it's important, even in your now, to be content and to be grateful, because there will come a moment where you won't even realize that you're standing in the middle of answered prayer. So while you're looking for your next, manage your now so that God can be just a lamp unto your feet one step at a time, and a light into your path, meaning he's leading you somewhere.
Yeah.
But will you trust him even in that wait time? Will you trust him with just taking one foot in front of the other, one decision at a time? I remember us when we first said, well, we're going to look for a house. It was 1 year before we actually got one. We were helping his parents move a family, and they were moving and they were trying to put it on the market. And we're like, it's a lovely house. And his parents wanted us to come see it. And I fell in love with the house. Like, oh, we should try to see, can we get it? So that wasn't the house for us necessarily, but it kept our mind open. And so we got in touch with someone else who we thought, okay, let's see what it would take to get a house. And they're like, oh, we don't know if there's much we can do for you. So then more months go by, and my husband gets, a mailer, and it points him to a new community, a developer that's building, not too far from where we were, but far enough, for sure. But not too far from where we were. And we go see them. Well, even on the day we set up an appointment and go look at houses there, this man tells us to our face, y'all are such nice people. We would love to help you, but it's just going to be impossible.
Yeah.
Said that to our face, and was a nice man. This was a nice man.
Yeah.
But said, based on what it looks like, this is impossible. Well, fast forward, within 3 months, less than 3 months later, we were in the biggest house that he showed us. And not because we just wanted a big house, but because we're a family of 6. Hello, somebody. We ain't moving into nothing that's the size of our apartment, right?
Yeah.
But told that people were like, well, this is not going to work. This is kind of out of your scope. I don't know if there's anything we could do for you. This is actually going to be impossible. And within a year's time, God shifted everything. He was moving us out of our apartment. We were about to have a new baby. I graduated. I got a new job. Keedren got a new job. All this stuff was happening while we were waiting.
Right. Yeah.
All this stuff while we were being told no. We were still living in the moment to take care of our family and to finish the thing that God started in us.
Yeah.
And so what he was waiting for was for us to get to the place that was going to connect us to the yes. Mm. So God said yes a year before that. We didn't know, because God knew you're about to have this baby. God knew you're about to get a promotion on your job. You're going to start making more money. You're about to graduate, and you don't even know. You're going to get offered a job before you even graduate. That was me. We didn't know that. It didn't even look like it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the bigger point we're trying to make, and why we have shared this, with our kids. And again, we're not teaching you anything. This is probably stuff many of you have heard. We're just speaking from our experience, and why we don't want this season to get away from us, because like you said, right after Thanksgiving, after everyone gives the speeches and tells why they're grateful, and it's a fun thing to do. And I think it's a positive and healthy thing to do. But typically the next day is a shopping day. That weekend becomes an extended weekend of shopping, and people forgetting what they're grateful for, and our minds shift to the things we want. And so if you want that fancy vacuum and you can get it on sale during that weekend, this is not us saying don't get it. Get your vacuum, get your blender, get that appliance that you want, get your new VR, whatever you're looking for, get whatever that is, if it's within your means. But don't do it because you think that you don't have enough, or because you feel like someone else has something that you don't have, because most things that we do have, we treat them like our kids treat their toys on Christmas after they open them. You get a good, maybe moment, speck of time where they're really excited and we're really excited. And after that, it kind of fades. Those appliances get tucked away or stored in a garage until the next season, and it's okay. So just be considerate of that, and don't add any extra grief to yourself. Gratitude can fill in some of the gap of some of the grief that we may feel when we think about the things that we don't have, or the people that we don't have.
Yeah, no, seriously, because when we focus on that, we do start feeling guilty. And I remember there was a time in our life, and there's 2 things I want to talk, kind of speak to right now.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a time in our life where it was around this time. Actually, it was after Thanksgiving and all that stuff like that. And our kids were a little bit younger. Our youngest is 12. She's 12 now. Oldest is 24, but this was probably about, oh God, it may have been about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's 12.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe 8 years ago, something like that. Anyway, because I remember her specifically. I remember we were wanting to get things for them for Christmas, and wanted Zoe to get her a dollhouse or like a kitchen. It was like a kitchen toy and some other things like really that.
Fancy.
And me, I was really feeling like, man, I want this to be the best Christmas for my kids. You know what I mean?
And it was our first year in our new house.
Maybe second year. You know, it may have been the second year, because I just remember we ended up taking out a loan to get toys, you know, and I'm just saying, we may not be the only one. You guys can probably, some of y'all may relate to that. We took out a loan, you know, and you know that was going to help us contribute to our kids' Christmas and some other things like that. But the guilt for me is what really caused me to cash that check. And I don't know how, you know, man, they sent us an actual check.
Right.
And all we had to do, was to, you know, to endorse the check
and take it to the
bank. And we did, and we did that.
Do you remember the teller, the woman who was helping us at the counter? She came from around the counter, and she actually had a desk. I think she was like an accountant there or a banking associate that would sit people down if they wanted to open up. She actually she came from around the counter, took us to sit down, and asked us how sure we were. And just really, we could tell that she didn't think it was a good idea. Now, I'm going to tell you, there was a level of immaturity in me that was just like, why is she in our business? This is, you know, we didn't come here for all of this. If it's good, if the check is legit, can you just help us get it done? You know? I mean, because she was like, well, is there anyone else who can loan you some money? You know, is there any way you can get around? And when I think about it now, it was incredibly kind, thoughtful, compassionate. God sent her. It was like he sent a boat. Like, here's a route of escape. Here's one more thing to consider. And we just could not see past.
No, it was what we wanted, what we felt like we needed for our kids.
Yes.
And our family in that season. And I just want to encourage someone to not feel like we have to do everything for our kids that we didn't have, like to get everything for them that we didn't have when we were younger. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to make sure my kids had the best Christmas every time because I didn't have this, I didn't have that. And we've talked about this before, that it's important for us. It's okay for us to get things because all of our kids got stuff that we didn't have, you know, when we were younger. It's no slight to our parents, anything like that. That it has nothing to do with that. It's just a different heck yeah. But we still can focus on those things to say, I want them to have more than what we had.
Like our parents did,
like our parents did for us. But, you know, we've talked about this before. It's important for us to give them what we did have. And I was talking to a parent the other day about this very thing too. And so, you know, hopefully this will free you all. If you don't have it, or it's not, maybe you do have it. Maybe you do have the finances to do it. But if it's something that we're doing for pride or to just feel like, no, I want to do this because this is what I didn't get.
Well, we think it's a flex. Like, let's just be honest. Sometimes we're like, well, we can, so let's do it. And sometimes we're not always like, you have to be just as intentional about teaching your kids gratitude. And we look at that like, how are you treating the stuff that we've already given you? Also, there's a good point we make often. Like, when we were coming up, and some of y'all are from our generation, or at least close enough to it to know that we earned special privileges and gifts and rewards, you know, on our birthday or for getting good grades, bringing home, you know, good report cards, Christmas time. Like, those were sacred times of the year, but they were also times where we could expect, you know, just kind of the above and beyond, our parents just normal taking care of us. And now we're in a time where, for the most part, depending on what situation, and clearly this is not to overgeneralize anybody's situation, but our kids ask us for things year round, you know, like they're playing sports and they need a new sleeve, or a new helmet or some new cleats, or they need some different shoes, or they want some updated shoes, or they grew out of a pair. We didn't make them, wear them till their toes were all crunched up. We were like, okay, we don't have to wait for your birthday for that. We'll go ahead, take you to the mall, go get some shoes or whatever. We do that more frequently. And so we've had to kind of change our mind. How do we look at how, as a family, we are stewarding and managing what God has blessed us with?
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of gauge, what does the gratitude in our household look like? Like, are we taking care of those things before we come with a list of more stuff? How are we managing the stuff and the things that God has blessed us with? Because to whom much is given, much is required. And that's not just spiritual responsibility, but it is even as we accumulate things. How do we treat those things? Because if we really appreciate them, if we really have gratitude, it will show in how we manage those things.
For sure. So just don't feel guilty about feeling like we have to do, because you can do what you want, but I know that we've been in a place, and me even personally just been in a place where I just wanted, because my kids, I'm like, man, I love my kids. Like, I want to do the best for them. Like, I want to bless them. I love the look and the feel of that, of that time when they're opening their gifts and they're like blessed by what we did for them. And there have been times where I was blessed in that time, but then after the fact, I was stressed because of what I pressed to do, when I really couldn't do it,
Right.
Even after COVID, I remember, sharing with parents that, I know throughout the years, like that next year, you want to feel like you want to make up for everything and go everywhere that we didn't go because, we were sheltering in place and all those things like that. And as parents, as good parents, we want to be a blessing to our kids.
Yeah.
And so, I just wanted to just take a moment to just, encourage someone to just say, hey, in this season, don't feel pressed to feel like I have to do this stuff in order to give them everything that I didn't have. But also take a moment to think about what you do have and what you have been able to give them. Make sure your children are aware of those things, and think about it in those ways. And another thing I wanted to talk about was delayed gratification. I remember I wanted to get I put them up, but I had Blu-rays, a few Blu-rays on the back on this shelf. I got hundreds of Blu-rays and DVDs and things like that because me and one of my friends, when I was in college, every Tuesday or Thursday, whatever day it was, at Walmart at midnight when the new movies that were in the theater would drop, we can pick them up from Walmart. So we were there anytime a new movie came out, spend that $20, that $25 for the Blu-ray and the double disc to get the new movies because I wanted them right then and there. Anytime a video game came out, I was at the midnight release because I wanted it the day it came out. When shoes drop, I still like my shoes now. So I slowed down a little bit these last few months, but when shoes drop, I'm like, man, I want to get the latest. I want to get it the day of. And there was a time where I really experienced this delayed gratification and it changed my life because there was one time where I just didn't have the time to go get this video game on the day that it released. Every year I get mad and, around my birthday in August. So, and I think this particular time I just didn't have time to get it, and I end up not even getting it, until a couple of months later because not because I just didn't want to play it. It just the feel of like getting it day one was gone. You know what I mean? It was just like, and I'm just like, man, that thing had a hold. That thing had a hold on me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Coco now.
And so that delayed gratification. And even when I still got it, I still enjoyed the game and all stuff like that. But it just taught me something like, hey, if I don't get it now, I don't have to get it now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if I still want it later, that means I really want it. I know something you always say, hey, if you love it in a store, if you pick it up and you love it and you feel like you got to have it in that time, then that helps. But if it's something where it's like, I don't really love it like that, I ain't gotta.
Like, I like it. It'd be cool. Like, don't pay for cool, don't pay for life.
Yeah, you got to be like, this is that one. But keep it on the thought of even just gratitude. The delayed gratification has also helped as well, to just say, you know what, I'll be all right. Let me hold off. And then this last thing I'm gonna share, before, if you have anything else you want to share, is there's been, so we have 2 cars that are paid off
by the grace of
God. The grace of God. Thank you, Lord.
Yes, thank you, Jesus.
And by the grace of God, we could afford another car if we wanted to get one. And of course, you know what kind of car I want even right now, or SUV that I want right now. But I think about that from time to time. But then I'm like, man, I'm grateful for what we have. Not that, because we can go get another car right now. But when I'm thinking about our long-term goals and what we're trying to do, gratefulness has helped me be content with where I am right now, and not feel like I have to get it because maybe my friends are getting new cars, or I saw one on the road, or I rented one and I'm like, oh, I really like this, but gratefulness has really pulled me into contentment in ways that has given me some peace about things, truly, and gratefulness does so much for us, and so in this time, think about what you can be grateful for, what you are grateful for. And what I'll do too in the comments, I have a list of things that gratefulness does for us. I did a series called Guinness, Doing the Most. And one of the weeks I talked about grateful, like being the most, not doing the most. There's a series called Guinness, Being the Most, being the most grateful. And so I'll put some of those scriptures and some of those things about what gratefulness does for us. I'll put that in the group and in the chat so y'all can actually see that. But yeah, gratefulness does so many different things for us. And I think in this season and in your life, don't let the thought of what are you thankful for, what are you grateful for, just be built into this fall season. It should be built into the fabric of your life, the fabric of your being. Be grateful. Be grateful and think about what you do have, where you are now, because when you honor your now and even in the moment, gratefulness helps you live in the present. Because when you're ungrateful, you're living either in the past, like, man, I remember I had this, man, I remember I had this job and I was making this much money, or I remember I had this person in my life and then we were able to do this and this and then that,
Or you're living in the future.
Or you're living in the future for something that you just, man, gratefulness helps us to live
so you don't miss all of
the present, right? Because we don't know how many more minutes we have. And I'll say it again. We cannot make more minutes, but we can always make more moments. So be grateful for the fact that you can make new moments and more moments.
Right.
And stay in the present and honor that until God blesses you with more or changes your situation, whatever you believe in him for. But honor where you're at now. And I think you'll be able to look back and be grateful even for that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I agree. And final note from me, I shared with the kids today, we were talking about worship. And I think you mentioned something earlier, like gratitude and worship will always point your heart. It'll incline your heart to God. And I believe it inclines his ear to you. But obedience is one of the greatest forms of worship.
Yeah. That's real.
That if you love me, you will obey my commandments. And so it tells us very clearly, very distinctly, and very specifically what God considers love and obedience. And so whatever he has told you to do in this season, before you get to asking or wishing you had something else, someone else, or were in a different place, just consider, what is God asking you to do now in this season? And are you doing that? Because your honor will lead to your elevation.
That's good.
Honor God first, and you can honor him through your obedience, and it will always lead to your elevation. So those are my final thoughts on gratitude. Some of you who are tuning in for the first time, we do Talking with the Bostons because these are things that we talk about. Our topics are relevant for us. We we have so many conversations in a week, and we can only really do this once a week because it takes us a week to kind of have the conversations. We're doing life together, and we're formulating how do we present this and bring this to the community in a way that we can just have a normal conversation and you feel like you're in it with us. Like right now, if you're watching this live, you are literally in our home, in our office, listening to us have a conversation about things that we've talked about and been talking about, and things and ways that we're trying to grow in our faith and our walk with Christ, with each other, and with our family and in ministry.
Yeah.
And so every conversation you hear is real. So we thank you for those of you who were real and honest and contribute to us in the comment section, who message us, who even catch us on the street. Y'all catch us in stores and at church and in the lobbies and, text us, message us, letting us know that you have enjoyed and can appreciate these conversations. So as long as you're listening, we'll keep talking because we talking anyway. So thank you for joining us in Talking with the Bostons.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
Love y'all. Yeah. Appreciate y'all. We're grateful.
We're grateful for you.
We're grateful
for you. And there's not a single stranger on here. That's why we have an exclusive private Facebook page. So if you're watching from YouTube and you want to be a part of the Talking with the Bostons Facebook group, it's private, but it's easy to get in the group. It's not complicated, but we did want to have a place where we could kind of continue our conversations without them being all over the place. Yeah. So if you can appreciate that, thank you. If you're not following us on YouTube and you're watching us on Facebook, we would love for you to skip over to YouTube and like this video. And you can just like all the videos.
Yeah.
And then go back and just listen to them when you have time. We really run like a podcast style video. So we don't worry about time. We talk until it lifts off of us, right? To finish the conversation. So we really run it like a podcast style listening situation. So you can listen at any time. We think we've talked about some great conversations and topics, and you all have kind of affirmed that with us, for us, and to us. So please hop over there.
Like and subscribe.
Share,
leave your comments. Thank y'all for doing that anyway. We'll make sure we get to y'all.
It's so fun. And we always do. How we roll. We find time to do that.
For sure. Yeah. We love y'all. Have a great week. Be grateful. Take care of yourself. Take care of your families as y'all are traveling. We pray for safety.
Yes.
As families traveling into town to where you are, we pray that they're safe. We pray that, the conversations that you all have, the time that you spend together will add value to your lives. God bless you.
Thank you.
We pray for even relationships being reconciled and restored.
Yes.
We pray for peace and joy and love and all of those beautiful things that come with fellowship and family. All right. Yes. But we love y'all, and we will see you all next week. So thank you once again. My name is Keedren.
And I'm Katura, and this is Talking with the Bostons. See you next Sunday, 7 p.m. Central. Bye, guys.